have 6:30, so we'll call the work session of mayor and council for the city of Snellville, Georgia, Monday, August 27th to order. First of all, we'll look at the regular meeting. We have, of course, the invocation and the pledge. We have actually two proclamations. One is declaring the city of Snellville as a Purple Heart City. But you all was involved in getting that done. I know you and
Brian Arrington is the ramrod for that, and he did a great job keeping in touch with everybody and keeping us in the road moving forward, and we appreciate that.
Thank you for getting that done.
No problem. You remember when you sent that original email, that man, ironically enough, called on Thursday, so he'll be here as well. Lou, I think is Lou. So
Okay, good. Awesome. And then we're also going to do a proclamation for, it's Duchenne's Muscular Dystrophy Month. So Jason had asked if we'd do a proclamation for that, so we're going to amend the agenda to put that on if we would. Oh, we don't need to amend the agenda, we'll be doing that first. Then we have the minutes, committee reports. As far as I know, everybody will be here. We have our second reading for the PNC Bank changing to the O'Reilly Auto Parts CUP. Anybody have questions?
I got questions about trees.
Okay, you want to go over it now?
Yeah, I don't see any trees on their plans. Did I miss them? Or?
No, what you got here is just the site plan. So we've already spoken with the applicant. If they're not asking for any variances from the landscaping plan or ordinance, then they have to plan it for the ordinance. So they would be required to plant the front landscape strip, one per 50 feet. The corridor overlay also dictates that at least 50% of the trees be 3 inches or higher. So the trees will be planted, half of them on the site will have to be 3 inches, and I would probably guess, due to the size of the site and the TDUs it's going to create, that they're going to have to use bigger trees to get them in there anyways. But if you wanted a couple of kind of signature trees up front, I mean, you could dictate that they go with some 4-inch trees on 78, and I don't think there'd be much pushback for that anyways, because it helps them get to their trees.
Yeah, because that part of 78 is like a concrete desert.
It is. Well, you know, we got Kaiser to plant the property pretty nicely, and it's pretty green over there. That's about 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah.
So I do think it helps up on the front to get some of those larger trees growing. And they say the 2s to 4s grow at this kind of the same rate, and they all catch up at 6 inches, but I haven't seen that. It's my experience that when they start off bigger, like you've got it over at Home Goods and that place, I mean, those are really mature trees already. So I like to start as big as possible if you know, they'll tolerate it for the most part.
So we can just amend, or ask them if they'll agree to.
Yeah, I mean, you could make it a condition, we could, you know, that's the surest way to tie them down. And that's really the only way legally to tie them down, because they can say they're gonna do it in here and then.
Yeah, and then not do it.
Right.
Okay.
We've had a good relationship with this applicant, I'll kind of go over that in the meeting as well.
Okay.
And according to the landscape ordinance, they are going to have to plant shrubbery in addition to the trees.
Yeah, they either have to, the way our landscape ordinance currently works is you get certain coverage percentages for each type of, it could be a tree, and they get like a certain amount of coverage, or it could be shrubs. They have to have a minimum amount of trees, but if they wanted to go tree heavy, I mean, they could do that too, but they can't just plant shrubs to get their percentages. So normally they do it in a combination so that they can space the trees appropriately, and it's filled in with some kind of ground cover. And on Highway 78, you'll actually have a requirement, because it's a major road, to have like evergreen shrubs that create basically a buffer on the front end, a short buffer to kind of hide the car grills. So that'll already be a requirement, so they'll have to plant some shrubs in there.
Okay.
On both sides.
On both sides of the retaining wall?
Well, not in DOT right away, because they don't like that.
Okay,
but,
gotcha.
I mean, on both
Fountain
road
Drive and-
frontages. yeah.
Oh, Fountain Drive
Because it'll
and
service two
78.
fronts. It'll
Right,
be two
okay,
frontages.
now I understand, I got
And
it.
they've got a lot of room on that property too, so.
So the ordinance is drafted as approved by the planning commission?
No, it's actually, the ordinance is drafted after the planning commission met, and I'll just kind of bring you up to speed. There were two additional variances that were on the site plan, very small, that we didn't recognize during the staff review. So the planning commission didn't even hear those. So one of them was for a small sliver of encroachment on Fountain Drive, which is like less than a few square feet. And then the other one is, this is something that we're kind of running up against during these redevelopments. Most of these properties are developed without detention ponds, or the water is going to some off-site pond. But when they remove the concrete, no matter what they put back, they have to treat that as basically a forested condition in their hydro report. So basically, it goes from being, even if they put the same amount or less concrete back, so that makes their hydro numbers go way up. So basically, what they're asking is, if the existing system can accommodate the load now, and they're doing less impervious surfaces, which they are, than is already there, can they continue to use the calculation and treat those as pervious spaces? So I spoke with the city engineer, and he said, as long as the system can accommodate it, then, you know, it's not really an issue, but they're gonna have to spend some money in the form of a downstream analysis where they analyze everything where the water is going to make sure it can accommodate it. And he said if that came back positive, that you could recommend approval. So we basically condition the approval of that variance on the downstream analysis. So if it comes back that it can't hold it, then they're gonna have to accommodate it, whatever that may be, underground detention, a pond, or, you know, and that's something that can really send a deal from yes to no, you know, so they have to probably do that before they initiate the rest of the project.
So are they rebuilding the building?
Yes,
They're
we
tearing,
were
it's a
kind of.
tear down. and
I thought it was
rebuild.
initially gonna be a reuse, but it's not big enough for what they're trying to do, so it's actually gonna increase to nearly an 8,000 square foot building, and they're gonna push it over a little bit, so it'll be, you know, have to meet the architectural design standards, brick and stone and all that in the corridor over there. So it'll be pretty much a full redevelopment. It's gonna be a pretty major financial investment there on 78 West, where we don't have a lot of that. So, even though it's an auto parts store, you know, it's gonna be pretty much a brand new development, less a few parking spaces that are gonna remain in the rear and in the rear.
And I assume they're gonna close the one further west on 78?
I don't think so. These
Really?
guys operate in really close bubbles. I mean, there's one on West 78, there's one on East 78. I mean, there's another, I think, within 4 or 5 miles, 6 or 7 of these things, so.
Yeah, because there's one in Loganville, and then there's one on the west side.
Yeah, and I'll let the applicant speak a little bit,
Yeah,
but I don't think they have any intentions of closing the other one, so.
Okay.
Just to add one.
Lots of auto parts.
So
More
there's-
cars, more parts, you know.
That latest condition with the downstream analysis is in the ordinance,
It's
so,
included in the ordinance.
yeah, so if you're good with everything, then you can reference the ordinance, the conditions and variances in the ordinance. If you want to change anything, then,
Yeah, I just want to add that
Yeah,
one
just-
condition.
Okay, 8.
okay. Anybody have any other questions? Concerns? You want to talk about now? Under the consent agenda, we have the Youth Commission enabling resolution. I saw what the new paragraph is. What was the old paragraph?
The old paragraph basically said that any expenditure that the youth commission can make of $250 total, so it could be a, you know, consolidation of other expenses all into one. Anything that was greater than 250, approval for that would have to come before mayor and council before they could spend anything larger than $250. So we're changing that to say approved by the advisory board and within their designated budgetary allowance by the budget.
Okay.
So you guys don't get inundated with their $250 requests
Okay.
For food.
and other stuff.
And then we have the approval for the use of the mobile stage by St. Oliver Plunkett. Are we gonna pull that off?
That was my recommendation. Y'all, in the packet is the policy for operating the stage, and it passes through cost. The people have to be on a list of approved nonprofits as part of that policy. So this one is already on, the St. Oliver's is already on the list. First Baptist is already on the list. I think City of Grayson's already on the list. It would be up to Butch, as city manager, then to just execute the contract in the form that we've been using and save y'all a lot of trouble of fooling with the
Okay, so we
use of
don't
the
need to
stage.
approve that.
We don't get too many requests, that's for sure.
Oh, so you're saying just
We
take it
don't
off
need
the
to
You'll
agenda
take it off.
completely?
Y'all already
yeah.
voted and adopted the
Okay,
policy
gotcha.
and it
There's
controls the
a problem with
contract.
it, okay. I was thinking, what's the problem?
Under new business, we have A and B, purchase of real estate. We'll talk in an exec session on that. And then we've got financing for the vehicles that were in the budget for.
Right, these were just the police vehicles, the stormwater piece of equipment, and just some equipment in PD. And you approved this, and we budgeted for the lease payment in the budget.
Okay. Any questions on that? All right. Then we'll move, any correspondence?
No, not this time.
Tony?
Just need an executive session, nothing else to report on.
Ongoing projects?
Let's see, I think everybody has their copy of the update. Town Center progress, we've had a couple of very good weeks in moving forward. You'll hear about some of that in executive session. But I think we've made a lot of progress, and we've got some things scheduled this week. The next item, the Market and Library progress. Yes, we did delay the charrette. We have the temporary hold on the library. We're meeting with the county administrator this week to talk about that. I think we've probably made some progress in the interim on that. We have a phone call tomorrow with TSW to help us put a packet together for potential market operators and potential tenants of the market who are interested in what we're going to do in the future. So that conversation is with TSW, with Heather and Bill in the morning. So, you know, we're trying to get over the small obstacles that we've hit here when it comes to the market in the library. And, you know, delay is not always bad. You have a chance to kind of consolidate, get everybody's input. I felt like that was a good meeting earlier with the joint boards. And so I think we'll be better for it. Marketing Snellville. Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I don't know if you're going to do a video or not about this meeting, your review, but Brian has the little studio set up upstairs, and so that'll be an interesting first go there. So the video equipment is pretty much all 100% in place, I'd say, and I really think so I thanked Brian earlier. The Purple Heart designation will be important to a lot of people tonight. Town hall meetings, just we're going to leave that on there so we can try to time the next one with maybe some town center announcements. Still working. If we go down to 78 and 124, still working well with the contractor, and the district, or the area and district office is working on potential options for that wall. It'll have to be some sort of veneer, but I think we can make that a little more attractive.
What's your quick comment on that too? Just the contractor at the last construction meeting is having, as we experienced with the LCI, some significant issues with some of the utility companies. That's why there's not a whole lot happening right now, because they can't get poles out of the way and some of the other things done. And that may be at least 2 or 3 more weeks before they can moved significantly.
And they did have a little issue this morning that Roy notified us about where they hit a gas line in two places.
A little issue.
Yeah.
So fortunately, nothing, they got it repaired and we're moving on. The UDO, work is progressing. There's been some good conversation between the staff and Caleb. The devil's in the details here. So there'll be some more written and telephone conversations before we set a meeting. But there's just several places where we need to get on the same page, and TSW needs to provide a little more input. Roundabout construction, I didn't hear anybody say anything back on the lighting that we sent out last time. Asked you to go look at what was next door at the Hampton Inn and the steak and the Outback. If everybody's good there, we'll proceed with that.
Yeah, I thought we had agreed to.
With the lighting, okay.
Yeah.
There's one by Burger King too, so.
What's that?
There's one by Burger King too, so you can
Well,
have your choice of where you want to look.
I see that.
have it your way.
Have it your way.
The business and economic development, I think we might need to have a discussion over the next couple of weeks regarding the build-out of the second floor of City Hall. We've gotten some input, Dave has gotten some input from college folks, from Josh. Josh has put together a kind of a draft sketch with Eric of what it could look like upstairs. Because, on May 31st next year, that building could be gone. So we'll need an interim space until we get space developed in the town center. So we need to come together, agree upon what we want contractors to bid on, and go from there. So Dave and I are going to have a meeting tomorrow, and we'll get that out to everybody. The SPLOST program.
Go back on that just a minute, because I think we've got a lot of new council members since that was last discussed. We're talking about the one side of the upstairs, it's just open storage space now.
Right.
And creating classrooms. It was talked about quite a few years ago. I think some quotes were gotten and nothing ever happened
Is it
with it.
this side or that side we're talking?
This side.
That's
This side.
Across, flip across the planning and admin, it's like the exact same space on the other side of it.
Oh, so it's
On the front, yeah.
on the
whole
front of the building, okay.
So that's what we're talking about, if anybody has any issues or concerns with that.
This SPLOST.
I mean, right now, you're just at the stage of getting
Yeah.
input, and then we'll figure out what it might cost.
And
Okay.
I think we
Make a
have some
decision
good
from there.
potential with some of the Gwinnett County schools as well, because they want out of the classroom experiences, and that's a good lead-in for it.
I'd like
Because
it
we
out.
really don't have enough room over on Clower.
Right?
The next item, the SPLOST, we closed out our budget year, and the first year's collections of the SPLOST, you can see down at the bottom, is about $3.7 million. I thought it was interesting that the first 3 months averaged about $241,500 a month. The last 3 months have gone up to $255,392. So that's basically an extra $45,000 over a 3-month period. So we're doing well.
Back to school.
With the SPLOST growing. We hope that continues. But we're well ahead of our budget target, and this bodes well for town center expenses and other expenses that we have budgeted. And remember that 71% of the SPLOST revenues are for various town center needs. The higher education, I'm not sure the DDA mentioned it earlier, but they are now hosting classes over at Garage Works from Gwinnett Tech. They are using a little bit more of the parking than the other tenants were used to, but I think they like the activity. Comp plan progress, basically, we're to the drafting stage where, and Jason, I know you talked to Jim this morning, Jim Somerville. Did he say anything or give you an update or?
Yeah, basically, this is where kind of the rubber hits the road. They've got to start drafting the actual policy documents. So they're going to draw together all the public input they've received, kind of combine that with what we've kind of given direction on, and then we'll actually draft kind of the first draft, and then we'll see our eyes on that probably in 6 weeks or so, and then we'll have another review committee, and then they'll have the open house once it's kind of semi-finished at the end. So you guys will get a copy of that at some point to look over.
Ordinance development, Chuck and I spoke on the phone earlier. We'll have probably a first reading of a small cell ordinance where we can, as far as the law allows, put some regulations in place where we have some controls over small cell antenna placement in the city. It may be temporary till the legislature meets in January. A lot is going on in Washington regarding that, and so but it's will be better to have it in place than not have it in place. And as you'll learn in executive session, these guys have been busy with property acquisition documents. SDS, really no update there. As far as long-term planning, I think we mentioned the December 15th retreat date. We might have had a couple of conflicts, or was there something that evening that you wanted to avoid a conflict with?
I was good for the week before, but not the 15th.
Okay, so you're good for December 8th?
Yes.
I thought you weren't for December 8th.
Yeah, that's what I
Better
was
check.
thinking too.
Let me check.
Pull out that
Tell me
phone.
what's the problem with the 15th?
Yeah, that's
That evening?
That's right. Yeah, that's the Gwinnett
Centennial.
historic thing, but I'm good. Yep. I think it is the 15th. That's scheduled.
And while they're checking on that, to let you all know, the ATL Transit Committee that's being formed was passed in House Bill 930 in the legislature. 16-member board, there's 10 districts that the metro Atlanta area was divided up into. We had, and for each of those districts, the mayors inside that district had to get together and elect a mayor that goes on to be the mayor that votes with the county commission chair and all of the state representatives and senators for that area to vote on a board member for that district. We had the mayor caucus last week for District 6, which is in all of Gwinnett County, or all of the mayors in that district are Gwinnett County mayors. We got together and elected Jimmy Burnett, so he will be the mayor representative to go on to vote for the person that will be on the board. So far, we've just, there's been, I know, it's a little, it's actually a lot
Phase
confusing.
1, Phase 2,
Yes,
Phase 3.
it's 2 steps to elect the board member. So anybody interested in running for that board seat just needs to give a resume. Just let me know and I can tell you who to send it to. Everybody just wants to look at resumes. They'll get the list together before that next round of voting. I think they're looking maybe into September or October, trying to schedule those votes. Snellville is also in District 7, which for Gwinnett, it's just Snellville and Loganville. So myself and Ray Martinez went down to Lithonia City Hall today to do the District 7 vote. And we voted on Pat
You said Wheeler.
Wheeler.
Before.
Pat Wheeler from Stone Mountain is going to be the mayor representative going on to vote on that district. So Snellville got to be in 2. So just to let you know where that was.
I'm
And
good for the 15th.
Good for the 15th?
So 12/15 is the date.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
just Two other things for the work session. Oh, no, we had another one. Discussion of the seasonal farmers market. Gretchen.
Okay, I want to pass some. These around too. Just give you some to start around. We had some of our vendors come to us, and they would really love to have a year-round outlet to sell some of their, like, cool season vegetables, also meats, because we have vendors that sell pork and beef and really would like a year-round outlet to sell these items. They came to us a couple of weeks ago and asked us about the possibility of doing a once-a-month market during the off-season, which would be October through May. And we talked about just a 3-hour market, not 4 hours like we have now. And anyway, so we were kind of excited about it because we feel like it serves our vendors, it serves our customers, it's good for Snellville. So Kurt has drawn up, this is, we worked on a layout for the possible market in the parking lot out here. We would do it in the parking lot as opposed to on the green, so that there's time to, if work needs to be done to the grass on the green, there's time for that. We won't continue to tear it up. So you'll see in the back of the parking lot, we have spaces that are named TR1, TR2, TR3. Those are for vendors that come with box trucks or trailers, and they would park parallel to that wooded area back there. Then the other vendors, we've drawn out projected spaces for them. Each one is going to need about 1.5 parking places to be able to park and put tent up. And so we think the maximum we can get is 20 vendors. We're not sure that we'll have that many, but in our farmers market committee meeting last week, we worked on an estimate of what the signage would cost that we would like to do, and we came up with around $800. And so we feel like we'd like to get 15 if we can to cover, we want to cover the cost of the signage that we make. So we feel like 15 is a good number to shoot for. Where we have these purple dots, or well, the dots on here, that's where we would put cones to, so that customer traffic would not drive into the area of the market. I think I said we're talking about 9 to 12. We would not need to hire a police officer since there won't be anybody crossing Oak Road. Trying to think what else. What else do I need to say?
Christmas?
Well, yeah, Regina, there would be no electricity, so we've already been up front with them and told them that if they need electricity, they'll need to bring a generator, and they seem fine with that. Regina came up with an idea, and she's real excited about this. She would like, at the December market, she would like to do a Christmas market and allow some of our craft vendors to come to that. As a rule, the October through May market will just be food vendors. It'll just be produce, meats, honey, eggs, just baked goods, just food items. We don't want to really do crafts. because we want to keep it just a small, true farmer's market. But she came up with the idea that she would love to do a Christmas market and invite some of our craft vendors to participate in that in December. We're talking about charging them for the full off-season market, which would be October through May. We're talking about charging them $80, which is just $10 a week. So, but we need that to cover the cost of the signage that we'll make. Kurt and I walked the market last Saturday and talked to a lot of the vendors that we thought might be interested, and I think we got about 15 saying that they were very, very interested in this. We've presented it to the stat board. We've presented it to the Snellville Farmers Market Committee, and the first person we talked to was Butch. We came in and talked to Butch to be sure that he didn't foresee any issues with it, and he seemed very, very pleased with the plans. So the last group I wanted to present it to was all of you, to be sure that you didn't have any questions or concerns or whatever before we proceed.
It was $80 for what month? What length of time?
$80, October through May, so that's 8 markets, so it's $10 a market, which is basically what they pay now. If they come all season, they pay $180 for 18 markets, so it's really the same that they're paying now.
Cool. Have you decided which day of the month? Is it
Oh,
first
I'm
week
sorry,
or
first
of the month?
Saturday of the month.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be fabulous, because so many people have asked, why don't we do it another time?
Yeah, well, it'll give some of our vendors an outlet to sell their winter vegetables, their meats.
Yeah, I can't think of anything that it would conflict with, you know.
We were a little concerned about the Police Explorers event, but Butch checked
But Roy
on that.
can work around that. We're in
And
good shape there.
we talked about Snellville Days, and Butch felt like this was just another addition to Snellville Days, another,
Bring people to town for the
yeah, it
gates open.
wouldn't be in the same location as
No.
Snellville Days, so it wouldn't conflict with Snellville Days.
Anybody have any questions, issues, concerns? All right.
Great, thank you.
Woo-hoo, thank you. It's a lot of work. A lot of work.
I wanted to mention, I think I've told a few of you, I am heading out of the country Wednesday
It's not okay.
and will not return until September 10th, which is our meeting. We get into town at 3, so who knows what kind of shape I'll be in, or if we even get in at 3.
That's always a possibility.
So good chance that I will not be at the meeting, so just wanted to make sure that you all are aware of that, to make sure, because we'll need all 4 of you here to have a quorum.
And I will miss that meeting also.
Oh,
Oh dear,
Oh,
dear.
It's the blind leading the blind, eh?
One of those things that,
Blind leading the duck and
it's a
Yeah,
medical
Thanks.
thing that weekend and that day, so.
nobody gets sick.
So, I think what happened the last time that it happened, Melissa calls the meeting to order, the work session to order, and then they vote on a chairman for the work session and the meeting.
Not it.
Okay. I might also mention, I'm gonna need to miss the first meeting of October, so we'll need
Everybody's there.
4 people there.
That's October 8th. Are we meeting October 8th? Is that considered a holiday? No? Okay.
What holiday would that be?
Columbus Day.
Sorry about that.
Only in New York.
Well, I mean, it's just,
Only for
we're
the
off
banks.
school. We're a staff development day, but
And everybody did confirm for October 1st for PK Martin except Gretchen.
Okay.
So if that's okay with y'all, I'll let him know.
Yeah.
What's
go ahead and schedule
confirmed.
that.
Okay.
And we did get correspondence. Was everybody copied on this email from Mr. Darcy? I say
Yes.
Mr. Darcy, and I think of Pride.
Me too. So do I.
Mr. Darcy! From Arnold Darcy, and he had just written about
Code enforcement?
code
Is that the one?
enforcement. Yeah, and just his desire to see more code enforcement officers and working on the budget there.
And what we have done, we had a retirement, James McClure, retired as code enforcement officer. He is now part-time over at the recycling center.
And he's a grandfather.
And,
We saw him today down there.
doing a good job. And so what we did, we also had another police officer that everybody knows, Wayne Brown, who was interested in moving over to code enforcement. Johnny Green, the other code enforcement officer, they're good friends, they work well together. And I tried to explain to Mr. Darcy that we had not budgeted for an extra person, but we feel like with the change, bringing Wayne in and James's retirement, that our productivity will be better. And I'm not sure he got that point exactly. He still believes that we need a third code enforcement person. And it's not something that we don't monitor regularly. I mean, if we were, obviously there's a lot of work to do out there with code enforcement. But I think we've got two folks now. I tried to explain to Mr. Darcy, we're going to let this pair work for a few months and see how they do. And we think they'll do very well. So maybe we could put it on the work session in a few months and we'll be glad to report back to you.
Okay.
And
Just tell them to do Skyland Glen and Skyland Drive and they'll be good.
well, he did, he was a little worried about the sanitation changes, but he'll get over that. So and these guys do a good job working with Johnny and now Wayne. So I think, I really think we'll have a little uptick in productivity and we'll monitor it for
Maybe I
everybody.
need to do some drone flying over, take
So,
pictures and send it to
Pictures
them.
and-
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anybody have anything else for the good of the group? Then, during the work session of the mayor and city council of Snellville, Georgia, Mayor Pro Tem Bender announced that certain matters should be discussed